Hello, everyone, and welcome to Impact Wednesday. You're the inaugural team, as we've not done a monthly Wednesday before. We are bringing to you Impact Wednesday that will happen once a month, about the third Wednesday of the month. Sometimes that'll fluctuate, but each registration will open up every month after this session. So you can register each month separately. You can come every month, or you can come to just certain months. And if you are aware of Saturday math, if you're not, that's okay, because we're going to explain all this. If you're aware of Saturday math, for about 10 years, I've been doing a free professional development session on Saturdays once a month called Saturday Math. My partner in crime, Cheri, Dotterer, that I'm going to turn this over to in just a moment, she and I together collaborate, as I am a math specialist from the education world. I am Jonily Zupancic, and I coach and consult for Minds on Math. Cheri, an occupational therapist, a neuroscience expert. As we've collaborated, Saturday Math is very directly related to math, but many of the topics that we talk about also require some other intervention techniques and brain-based cognitive science. Wednesdays once a month is an extension sometimes of Saturday Math. You didn't need to be at Saturday Math to be here and understand today. This is standalone. But if you're familiar with Saturday Math, this is how this will operate. And our whole goal is to teach you educational and brain-based cognitive science tips, tricks, and strategies that will trigger learning and memory in the brain. Cheri, Dotterer, occupational therapist, dysgraphia expert.
Welcome, everybody. It is great to see you tonight, this midweek. Get through the week, but we can do it. We can get through the last 2 days of this week. Welcome to all of you this evening.
Just to recap on what we did on Saturday Math, what we like to do in our classrooms to make an impact. Tonight is about Impact Wednesday. And the goal of making an impact and having an impact on school success, not just in math, but in all subject areas. I'm the math specialist, so I'm always going to give the math examples, is we want to create a situation in which we give a simple stimulus that doesn't have a lot of prompts to answer and solve. We try to take away the noise, not the noise that you hear, but the noise that causes kids anxiety that they have to get a right answer or solve. At the beginning of a lesson to launch, we always use a simple stimulus that might last 2 minutes, it might last 12 minutes, or it might launch our lesson of the day. The stimulus that we did last Saturday was, tell me about this diagonal line. Now, diagonal lines have huge impact in math. As far as mathematics, this can teach about 30 or 40 of our standards. However, diagonal lines are very complex. And with that complexity, there's a lot of neuroscience behind what those lines do to us. Cheri's expertise, she's going to share really what diagonal lines cause angst and why we might see certain behaviors or lack of achievement with some of the kids in our classrooms based on diagonal lines. That just connected that to that Saturday. Why are diagonal lines so important?
What do you see?
I would say a vertical line.
Amy, what was that?
I was going to say a 1 or like a tally mark.
A tally mark or 1? Okay. Anybody else have any comments about what? Go ahead, Isabel.
I can see a double domino. I play dominoes a lot, and that's what the blank double looks like.
Love it.
I'm impressed. Teresa and Jennifer, you are our therapist in the group. Jennifer, I'm going to go to you first. Jennifer is a PT, not an OT. She is a certified dysgraphia specialist, though. If you are able to, Jennifer, if you can't, just let me know. What do you see?
I see a vertical line.
Okay. How about
Or
you,
it could be
Teresa?
horizontal.
How about an L? Lowercase L.
Lowercase L. Love it. Now,
Now,
what
this-
do you see? Anybody have any other thoughts?
For
I'm gonna
me,
pull a
that would be
Jonily, a minus
horizontal
sign.
line.
A minus sign.
Yeah, I'm doing math.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah, I was going to say minus sign or horizontal.
Horizontal. Okay.
I see a fraction bar.
A fraction bar. It is amazing what one picture, what one simple image will do and what people say about it. Now, I'm going to go back to the vertical line or the double blank domino. I want to talk a little bit about development. In the book, Handwriting, Brain Body Disconnect, on page 25, if anybody has it nearby, there is an image in there that talks a little bit about the different components and the shapes that we're utilizing to create letters and numbers. The vertical line is the easiest for a student to write. It starts from away from them and moves towards them. They're using the muscles in their shoulder, their arm, their wrist, and their fingers. The biceps is bringing it towards them. It is the most powerful of the arm joint. So it is the most controlled movement. If they were going bottom up, they're utilizing the triceps and the motion isn't as controlled. That is why a lot of teachers, Amy, I'm sure that you hear this all the time. My kid starts his letters at the bottom and I don't like it. If you look at any handwriting program, they're talking about always starting at the top. That's because there's more control with the flexor muscles. They are much more of a powerful muscle group.
I don't want to skim by that. I work with K-12, but by trade, I'm middle school, high school. If you teach that grade level, intermediate, secondary, watch students, letter formation and number formation, the amount of students that are still going bottom to top. There's a lot of that. Cheri, and this question can be rhetorical, but how do we as teachers unpack what's happening with that student and helping them move forward? We don't need to answer that right now, but for all of you, that's what these Wednesday nights are about. It's about unpacking those subtle things that our students are doing at all levels that we've never thought about before, but are making a difference in the barriers to their learning.
If a student has legible letters and numbers, even if they're starting at the bottom, I let it go. I don't try to correct that. If we've got illegible, then we have a different story. But
Yes.
if we've got legible writing, Jennifer, would you say yes or no to that one?
Yes, if we can read them, then I let it go. But if not, we talk about it. Or I've been pushed into kinder this year, and at that age, I correct it or try.
Yes. In kinder, I do try to work about that. Yes. Kindergarten, first grade, when they're first learning to write, yes, we do try to correct that. After that, middle school, high school, as long as it's legible and they are not having pain. Pain is the other part of it. If they're not having pain because of their writing, let it go. If they're having pain, then we need to figure out why they're having pain. Pain doesn't necessarily mean it's orthopedic in nature. Pain can come from many different pain, and pain can also be a psychological connection to writing with multiple microtraumas over time that will impact their writing.
It's interesting to see some of these traits that students have and their association to how they see and view numbers. There is a connection between these neuroscience things that Cheri's talking about and the effect on some of their abilities. Just pay attention to that. Yeah, great stuff.
We have the horizontal line. Typically, a horizontal line is written left to. If you've got a left-hander, let him write right to left. It's just it's going across the body and coming back. When they're right-handed, it's going to go across the body, come back. But going across the body and coming back, you're pulling with the stronger muscle groups. That's why that is easier. If you've got a kiddo who is a left-hander, let him do the stroke from a different direction as long as it's legible.
The problem with that is it's the segmentation. And you're getting, if you get to it, on the crossover.
The third group of pencil strokes that kids write are putting it together. Put the vertical line and the horizontal line together. Now, in mathematics, it looks like a coordinate plane, a plus sign. It's still a vertical and horizontal line that they're putting together. If you've got students who go from the center and come out, that's not efficient. They're seeing the line segments as segments. They are not seeing them as a complete line. The third stroke, now, granted, scribbling kind of looks like circles, but it's really not. It's just back and forth. An actual start at the top and go around. Kiddos that are making their circles to the right are writing less efficiently than if they're making it to the left, even if they are left-handed. And the reason being, it's much easier to be going left when you move on to cursive. Because your O, you come up to the top, you come back around. If we train them from the start to go to the left to make their circle, it's going to be easier. I'm going to pick on Krista because she teaches 6th grade. How many kids do you see making their O's and their circles, their whatever letter it is, to the right? Do you see that a lot in 6th grade? Or are they making it to the left? Or aren't you paying attention?
To be honest, I have not paid attention. I do pay attention to the ups and downs because my son struggles. He starts his all of everything from the bottom up. That made me aware of that, but I did not know to look for circles.
How about you, Amy? You were in 1st grade.
I notice it, but because we focus on our first 5 weeks so far, foundations, our first unit is all letter number formations. And we talk about where you start and how you go. I try to tell them when you do it this way, one, numbers are not, or letters won't be backwards. If you have the correct formation, you're not going to flip up your B and D, but that it in the long run will make learning cursive easier too.
We have the diagonal. What's different about my diagonal from Jonily's diagonal? Do you remember what Jonily's diagonal looked like without us pulling it back up? So see hers, back to mine. What's the difference? Go ahead, Krista.
It's leading to the opposite direction. I would
It's
say
going bottom left, top right. Hers was top left, bottom. What's the significance? You guys started the conversation in Saturday Math, where we're talking about negatives, talking about decreasing. So I went down a rabbit hole today on the diagonal, and I'm going to share my rabbit hole with you. I put into Google today, what does a diagonal mean in social studies, art, music, science? And I'm going to read some of the notes that I got from Google today. There is a thing called diagonal alignment. Have you ever heard that term before? Diagonal alignment has to do with the coordinate plane. It has to do with the slope, the increasing and the decreasing slope. It's basically design mapping. It's where you got the bubble in the middle and you're going out and you're making like a flow chart with different shapes and such. In music, there is a line that goes bottom left, top right. It's called a tremolo. Has anybody heard that word before? A tremolo? They repeat the note that was before and then they just didn't write it again. I got stuck in the world of art. I thought maybe I would get stuck here, and I did. I don't want to spend too much time here, but a diagonal in art represents movement, represents dynamic composition, or depth. It also represents tension, and it also represents contrast. When I put up the plus sign, where did your focus go? Did your focus go to the lines or to the cross, the center point? That's one of the other things that they mentioned in art is when you have diagonals, like an X or even the cross, it's like moving to the center point. The other thing about diagonals, it represents instability. Think about a seesaw. It represents instability. I thought, very interesting. That was my rabbit hole as I was thinking about diagonals. Now, let's get back to the neuroscience behind diagonals. We talked about crossing and pulling over with the horizontal line. What happens with the diagonal? I want you to try it in front of you. Go bottom, left, top. What happens? Feel what your arm is doing. Go ahead and try it. Feel what your arm is doing. Do you feel what's happening to your triceps? Do you feel what's happening to your biceps? That extension, it's almost like a reach. Now let's reverse it. Let's go use the same hand and go the other way. We're starting up here and we're coming down. It's more of a pull. So we're reaching and pulling. Now switch sides. It's going to be the opposite. You're going to pull across your body and then you're going to pull away. It's going to be the opposite because you're using a different side of your body. That is significant for kids who are having difficulty with crossing midline. They can't push and pull across. They're going to start in the middle. When they do their diagonal, it's going to go from the middle out or the middle down. If you've got kids that are struggling, Amy and Amy, I'm sure that you see that a lot. You got kids that are drawing their diagonals, and sometimes they don't even look like diagonals. They look more like horizontal lines because they don't have enough strength to do the pull or the push or the pull across the body. Teresa, do you have anything to add?
I do. One of the things that I had to do as an OT, if somebody had a stroke, I believe it was called PNF. We had to go across. Remember that? Crossing over.
Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation.
We had to go out.
Okay, in those words.
Yeah. It was a retraining of your brain. If we think about it with the kids, it's the same concept. It's training your brain, and crossing the midline was an important factor. Also because your cranial nerves cross over, and that's why you want to do that.
Mm-hmm. So there is some exercises that you can do with students to help increase the strengthening of the arms. One of the exercises that you want to do is you want to make sure that those scapular muscles are working, that the scapula is moving back and forth as the arms are moving. So you want to put your hands on the desk. If you get your kids to put their hands like in a 45-degree angle, that's going to be better than straight on. You also don't want them this way. So a 45-degree angle. I want you guys to stand up. Put your hands at the 45-degree angle. And then I want you, without bending your elbows, I want you to try to spread your shoulders and bring them back. Spread your shoulders and bring them back. Do you remember the commercial where we must increase our bust? You're bringing your boobs out, you're pulling them back. If you're doing it when you're leaning, it works much better. If you have that push and pull, getting those shoulders working, doing that for 30 seconds, it's going to change the kid's day. It has changed mine. That exercise was like, oh, I didn't realize I was that tight back there. Kids are tight. They're using too much up here and not enough of the back. I've talked about this in the past, where you interlace your hands together and you have them do, I like the number 8 because it forces them to cross midline. You can do any letter and number. Isabella, that's called interlaced bilateral integration. It is not in my book. It is something I've been working on since then. Hands like this, they go, palms stay away from you, they interlace together, and you air write with both hands. So if you are, did you say you're a literacy specialist? Learning resource teacher. So you're probably helping out with some of the kiddos that are needing learning support for reading as well as mathematics. That ends our section of Impact Wednesday for September 2024. If you want the entire Saturday Math Impact Wednesday curriculum for 2024-2025 school year, it is in disabilitylabs.com. That's DIS ability, ABILITY LABS. Make sure you put the S on the end, .com. Disabilitylabs.com. Page down the page until you find Saturday Math and Impact Wednesday. We are grouping them together into one course. You will receive all the lectures from the courses, or you can come free to one session on a Saturday morning or a Wednesday night. Go to Eventbrite to find out when the next episode is being held, and that'll be under Jonyly's tab in Eventbrite. For now, have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you next week on Tier 1 Interventions.